He was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own pleasure and that of his romantic partner, Matthew Smith.
Federal prosecutors announced that the former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch has been arrested on trafficking and prostitution charges. Mike Jeffries led the popular clothing brand from the early 1990s to 2014. And during some of those years, prosecutors say Jeffries helped recruit and pressure men to take part in sex events around the world.
Prepare to trade that couch for a bed in federal prison. The message from today's prosecution is clear. Exploiting vulnerable human beings is a crime.
The business was in a downward spiral, and I knew I had an opportunity to bring these iconic global brands back.
What if I told you there's more to Diddy's scandal than meets the eye? In a shocking twist, new claims are emerging about secret underground tunnels allegedly connected to Diddy's properties, tunnels that might hold the key to unraveling an even darker side of his already controversial world. According to an associate who's finally speaking out, these hidden passageways aren't just for privacy. They might be linked to something much more sinister, including alleged trafficking operations. Could these tunnels be the missing puzzle piece in the investigation that has everyone talking? Stick around, because this bombshell might just change everything we thought we knew about Diddy and his empire. When Diddy's properties were raided, no one expected the feds to uncover something this shocking. It turns out they allegedly found a hidden network of tunnels beneath his mansions. And these tunnels? They weren't just there for decoration. Allegedly, they were used to traffic people into Diddy's infamous freak-off parties, which have been at the center of so many disturbing allegations.
Investigation into the mysterious tunnel at Diddy's mansion has taken a wild turn, Part 3. After discovering locked rooms and bizarre intersections, agents are piecing together an underground network that may connect to several celebrity homes, including the infamous.
Now, with Diddy awaiting trial in May 2025, he's facing serious charges, including racketeering, trafficking, and assault. And if you thought it ended there, think again. These revelations have set off a domino effect, pulling other powerful names like the former Abercrombie & Fitch CEO into the chaos. This story has layers, and y'all, it's about to get even messier. Let's start with the tunnels. When the feds raided Diddy's homes, they allegedly uncovered a hidden underground system running beneath his properties. These tunnels reportedly connected various parts of his mansions, creating a discreet way to move people in and out of his infamous freak-off parties without being seen. But that's not all. Investigators believe these tunnels were used to traffic individuals directly into the events, many of whom reportedly didn't even know what they were walking into. Hidden cameras confiscated during the raid are said to have captured everything. With Diddy held without bail, word on the street is that he's allegedly cooperating with investigators to cut himself a deal. The rumor is that he's spilling secrets and pointing fingers to secure bail and wait out his trial in the comfort of his home. But will the feds really let him off that easy? Diddy is facing some of the most serious charges in recent history. Charges of trafficking, racketeering, and assault are just the beginning. Prosecutors allege that he not only organized these parties, but also orchestrated an entire operation designed to exploit young, vulnerable individuals trying to break into the entertainment industry. Here's where it gets even darker. These allegations don't just point to Diddy's personal actions. They suggest that he created a system of control and manipulation, ensuring silence and compliance through intimidation, NDAs, and even threats. And then there's Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch. His arrest came shortly after Diddy's charges made headlines, leading many to speculate that Diddy might have tipped off the authorities. Jeffries and his partner, Matthew Smith, were arrested on trafficking and exploitation charges, and the allegations against them are eerily similar to those facing Diddy. Prosecutors say Jeffries and his team ran an international operation from 2008 to 2015, hosting events in places like New York, the Hamptons, and even overseas in England, France, and Morocco. Young men were recruited with promises of modeling opportunities, only to find themselves trapped in a much darker reality.
People involved were led to believe that it would benefit their careers and could lead to modeling opportunities with Abercrombie.
The way Jeffries' operation was set up is nothing short of horrifying. Recruiters like James Jacobson would lure young men with promises of career opportunities. Once they agreed, the victims were flown to lavish locations where their phones and wallets were confiscated, and they were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements. One victim, David Bradbury, shared his chilling experience. He was promised a modeling opportunity, but was instead coerced into performing acts he never consented to. He described the events as feeling like a trap, with staff watching their every move to ensure compliance. 15 men have officially come forward so far, each with a chilling account of what they endured. These weren't random individuals. Most were aspiring models or young men hoping for their big break in the fashion industry. Many were just 19 or 20 years old, eager to make it in a world where connections and opportunities are everything. For these young men, the promise of a career wasn't just dangled in front of them, it was weaponized against them. One particularly gut-wrenching detail is that some of these victims had even worked for Abercrombie and Fitch, believing their involvement with the company could lead to upward mobility or future gigs. Instead, they were preyed upon by the very people they thought could help launch their careers. The indictment revealed that Jeffries, his partner Smith, and their recruiter Jacobson systematically targeted individuals who were financially vulnerable, knowing they would have fewer options to resist or walk away. Victims described how the process was carefully orchestrated to trap them. First, they'd be approached by recruiters, often under the guise of legitimate opportunities. Next, they'd be invited to tryouts where Jacobson would engage them in inappropriate acts, claiming it was part of the selection process. If the men complied, they were flown out to exclusive locations, like Jeffrey's mansion in the Hamptons, where the truth about these events became impossible to ignore.
The staff ensured that the men signed non-disclosure agreements and handed over their personal items, such as their phones, before the start of the events to maintain the secrecy.
But that's not all. Once at these gatherings, victims were forced to hand over their cell phones and personal belongings, ensuring they couldn't document or communicate what was happening. They were also required to sign non-disclosure agreements, locking them into silence and further isolating them from seeking help. Some described the events as secluded and heavily monitored, with Jeffries' personal staff strictly enforcing
Pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the events. And they required the presence of staff during this activity and ensured that the men did not leave the events until Jeffries and Smith decided that the sessions were over.
Victims also shared disturbing details about substances being forced on them. Prosecutors revealed that alcohol, muscle relaxants, and prescription-grade enhancers were regularly administered, sometimes against the victim's will. This wasn't just to lower inhibitions, but in some cases, to incapacitate those who resisted. Staff members were reportedly tasked with injecting victims with substances when they could not or did not consent to what was happening. David Bradbury, one of the first victims to speak out, shared how recruiters manipulated his ambition. He was told that without complying with their demands, he wouldn't get the opportunity to meet Jeffries. When he finally attended an event, he described feeling trapped by the secluded environment, the watchful staff, and the realization that leaving could mean the end of his career aspirations.
On a massive infrastructure to support this operation and maintain its secrecy. This included hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash for commercial.
Financial manipulation didn't stop at the events. Victims were often paid in cash, with amounts ranging from a few $100s to hundreds of thousands. However, these payments came with strings attached. Many victims reported feeling that the money was essentially hush money, intended to silence them and prevent them from speaking out. For some, the payments created a sense of guilt and complicity, further complicating their ability to seek justice. Victims described how this financial coercion trapped them in a cycle of silence, making it even harder to come forward about their experiences.
We're trying to escape. I remember the brown children. I remember being locked in the cage with these brown kids. I don't know what race they were, but I know they looked at black, but they didn't.
Even more troubling, Jeff and his team employed an intimidation system to silence those who tried to fight back. A highly trained security team was used to monitor, surveil, and, if necessary, threaten victims who considered coming forward. The indictment alleges that Jeff's security enforced NDAs and intimidated witnesses, ensuring the operation stayed under wraps for years. For many victims, the psychological toll has been just as severe as the physical trauma. Feelings of betrayal and fear of repercussions have lingered long after the events. These were young men who entered the industry with hope and ambition, only to have their trust shattered by those in power. Prosecutors believe there are still dozens of victims who have yet to come forward, their stories buried under fear or ongoing intimidation. Even more recently, one of Diddy's alleged victims came forward with a story that has been shocking everyone. The individual claimed they were locked in a cage with other individuals of color at one of Diddy's infamous parties. While the specifics remain unclear, this allegation feels eerily similar to the trafficking and exploitation accusations surrounding Mike Jeff and his crew. Now think about it. In both cases, we're talking about individuals being lured into high-profile, seemingly glamorous settings only to be dehumanized and subjected to horrific treatment. Diddy's alleged actions align too closely with the manipulation outlined in Jeff's case to be brushed off as coincidence. This case has exposed a dark side of the fashion world, where exploitation is hidden under the guise of opportunity. As more victims share their stories, it's clear that Jeff and his associates created a system designed not only to abuse, but to silence those they hurt. As these cases unfold, it's becoming clear that this isn't just about Diddy or Jeff. It's about an entire system of exploitation that's been hiding in plain sight for decades. The parallels between Hollywood's casting couch culture and the fashion industry's exploitative practices are undeniable. And here's the kicker. With more victims stepping forward and more arrests likely on the horizon, this could just be the tip of the iceberg. Who else might be involved, and how deep does this go? With Jeff out on a $10 million bond and Diddy still in custody, all eyes are on these trials. Will justice finally be served for the victims, or will these powerful figures manage to slip through the cracks yet again? One thing's for sure, this isn't over. As investigators continue to dig deeper, we're likely to see even more shocking revelations in the months to come. What do you think about these unsettling allegations? Are these cases connected, or is it just a coincidence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.